All right, thanks, Connell. One round trip between New York City and San Francisco creates 2,010 pounds of CO2. That's a heavy carbon footprint for a single business trip. Well, in today's edition of In the Green, charter airline chief executive Air has found a way to offset those carbon emissions.
TerraPass is a retail company that sells carbon offset credits. Private jets generate emissions. There's carbon release into the atmosphere, and a lot of people have become very environmentally friendly. So they want to reduce the footprint of their travel. And the way to do that is to buy these offset credits, where you buy credits to offset the actual amount of carbon that your flight releases into the environment.
All right, so if let's say I want to charter a private plane through your services and I want to be more environmentally friendly, how much extra will I pay to reduce some of these carbon emissions?
Relative to the cost of the charter, it's really not that expensive. It depends on the size of the aircraft. On a small business jet, it would probably be somewhere around $20 an hour per flight hour. And that flight hour would probably cost you around $2,500. So you're looking at a very small percentage of the cost.
Well, we were talking earlier a little bit about how an economic slowdown can affect some of the customers that you target. Why is now a good time to add on a few extra costs to be more environmentally friendly?
I think everyone is very concerned about the environment. I think with all the climate change that people have seen recently, there's been drastic flooding and polar caps melting. It's definitely an issue that's front and center in a lot of people's minds. The cost of the carbon offset in most instances would be less than the catering bill for the charter. So even though it is an additional cost, the cost is really not, it's negligible when you match it to the cost of the actual travel in the charter. All
right, so then why did you have to team up with another company in order to offer a greener service to your customers?
It's actually an add-on service through TerraPass. They have a program that's very tightly packaged. It's easy to understand, and it's easy for people to get the idea of exactly what it is that they do. They create clean energy, and they also reduce emissions in the environment by capturing certain greenhouse gases. So it's a very easy program to understand because you buy a carbon offset which is created in the same year that you create the carbon emission, and it's simple. It's a really simple program.
Jeff, is this really a necessary service? I mean, it seems like a lot of people are jumping on the bandwagon, and if you really wanted to be environmentally friendly, then you wouldn't fly on a private jet, right?
Not necessarily. The commercial flights that you take also have carbon emissions. Those larger aircraft definitely emit more emissions than smaller planes. And if you can create an environment where you have a zero carbon footprint, you really didn't harm the environment at all. So you're basically completely offsetting the carbon.
How committed do you think the industry as a whole is to greener travel?
I think that the airlines are probably going to be pretty committed going forward because the airline industry is very heavily regulated, and it's pretty good at policing itself. So if it's something where the airlines fear that there's going to be some type of regulation on the carbon emissions, they'll definitely institute programs to get ahead of that.
All right, Jeff, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
And we'll have more Money for Breakfast coming right up.